I'm going to start with a scenario most of us have lived through. You spot a super cheap patio set on a weekend sale. You think you've scored a steal, you bring it home, and a week later the table wobbles, the chairs split, the cushions flatten after one rain. That regret feels like a punch because you end up with a half-made outdoor space and a dent in your wallet. So the question is, does the purple leaf 11-piece patio dining set feel like the smarter buy, or is it just another pretty look cheap in disguise? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What drew my attention to this set is the promise of a modern boho vibe paired with an ergonomic seat design, and the claim that the frame is built from premium HPL material rather than the thin metal you see on bargain bundles. I spent a couple of evenings sketching out how I'd actually use the set in my own backyard: 2 adults, a kid, a couple of drinks, a dinner under string lights, and I tried to picture the daily grind, the occasional summer rain, the weight of a full dinner spread, the need to move the chairs around without a battle. First, let's talk about the look. The deep teak finish leans into that boho modern aesthetic you see in Instagram feeds: clean lines, a warm wood tone that doesn't clash with either a bright yellow umbrella or a sleek black grille. It's the kind of visual that can make a modest patio feel intentional, and that's a real win if you're not planning a full-scale landscape redesign. The set includes a rectangular table that seats up to 6, 3 armback chairs on each side, and matching side chairs that double as lounge seats. The cushions are wrapped in a fabric that feels thicker than typical polyester, more like a marine-grade upholstery that resists fading. Now, the practical side. The frame is constructed from high-pressure laminate, HPL, which is a step up from the thin steel tubes that often rust after a season. In my own test, I placed a full dinner plate, a pitcher, and a couple of plates of spaghetti on the table, then nudged the chairs to simulate people getting up and down. The table held steady, there was no audible squeak or wobble. The chairs themselves have a slight recline that encourages a relaxed posture, and the backrest is contoured in a way that feels less like a hard plank and more like a low-profile lounge. When the sun was blazing, I left the cushions out in the open for a day. They retained their shape and the fabric didn't feel tacky, which suggests the material is indeed built for outdoor exposure. However, there are trade-offs you need to weigh. The set's dimensions are generous, roughly 6 feet long for the table and each chair about 20 inches wide, so you need a fairly sizable patio or deck to accommodate it without crowding. If you have a cramped balcony, you'll probably spend more time shuffling the chairs than actually enjoying a meal. Another point is weight. Because the HPL frame is solid and the table is thick, the whole thing tips the scales at around 150 pounds total. That makes it sturdy, but it also means you can't easily lift it for storage when winter rolls around. You'll need a helper or a dolly if you want to move it to a garage. Who should consider buying this set? First, families or couples who entertain outdoors on a regular basis and want something that looks cohesive without the need for a full-scale patio makeover. If you love the idea of a boho-inspired space that can handle a full dinner service, the ergonomic seats will keep guests comfortable, and the durable cushions will survive the occasional spill. Second, anyone who lives in a climate where rain is frequent but temperatures stay mild because the HPL material resists rust and the cushion fabric resists mildew, you won't have to replace parts every season. On the flip side, skip it if you're hunting for a lightweight, easily stored set for a small balcony, or if you're on a tight budget that can't stretch to the mid-range price point of a premium HPL frame. The set offers more than a cheap metal pipe combo, but it also costs more than a basic plastic set you might find at a big box store. Also, if you're looking for a set that folds flat for storage, this isn't it. The design is built for permanent placement. One hidden strength that's easy to overlook is the way the cushions sit in a recessed groove on the seat. This means the cushions don't slide around when you shift weight, a small detail that makes a big difference during a lively dinner. The backrest's ergonomic curve also reduces pressure on the lower back, which I noticed when I spent an hour chatting with friends over wine. No sore shoulders, just a comfortable lean. Those little ergonomic touches are what separate a set that feels designed from one that feels like an afterthought. On the downside, the table surface, while solid, does not have a protective coating.